Non-Americans of Reddit, what is one thing you wish Americans knew before visiting your country? Be careful what you're saying in a public place. We all speak English. We all understand you. England isn't sunny, so don't complain about the rain. The cliffs of Moher are beautiful, but this isn't Disneyland. If you turn to the cliff edge and take a selfie, it's a long way down to the sea. You do not eat Vegemite by the spoonful. Don't buy bottled water. Well, maybe buy one and then just refill it at literally every bathroom sink you come across and the quality will be just as good. Iceland. If you die in Canada, you die for real. Don't be an idiot. Don't make selfies in front of the memorial of murdered Jews in Berlin. Australian things will actually kill you. It's not a joke. Don't pat the koala. The Little Mermaid is exactly that. She is tiny, and most tourists are disappointed by her. Don't spend your whole day going to see her. Take a look at the rest of Copenhagen. It's quite beautiful. Here, the customer is not always king. German history didn't start at Hitler. Our money is not crazy monopoly money. Bills are colorful almost everywhere. It's your bills that look like relics from the Civil War. Most of us don't really care what the royal family is up to. Deaths, weddings, births, not really paying attention, unless we get a free holiday out of it. We speak Portuguese in Brazil, not Spanish. Edit, grammar. We don't all speak like the Queen of England. We are not Sweden, just because it starts with the same two letters doesn't make it the same. If you are in Austria, especially outside of tourist heavy areas, people oftentimes are cautiously racist, not fond of strangers. Nobody will stab you for being brown, but people want their distance, quiet, and distrustful. However, we will open up, mostly, if you show honest interest in what we are doing. If you want to have the real Austria experience, try to get an Austrian buddy who can show you some nice places and who can translate the local dialect for you. Your I can understand German is useless in most of Austria. And always remember, the schnitzel is sacred. You do not request any changes to the schnitzel you order. Edit. Tried to clear some poor wording. Hope it is clearer now. The waitstaff salespeople aren't rude. They just want to be greeted politely. Africa is a continent made up of 54 different countries. Stop with the locks on our bridges, FFS. That Slavs aren't single. United Nation. That we don't know every other person in the UK. I live in Cheshire, so the likelihood of me knowing some random person you met from London or somewhere in Scotland is very slim. You won't see kangaroos jumping around in the suburbs or the cities. I guess this goes for any country, but here in Austria, you damn well better have some respect for nature and your surroundings. Don't shout, don't litter, and don't disturb wildlife, and wear appropriate shoes. Damn it. You don't HVE to talk that loud, man. All taxes are included in the price on the sticker. There are no polar bears in Poland. You will rarely find someone wearing lederhosen or dirndl here, unless you travel to south. Don't raise your right arm up to do the Roman salute. It is not only very disrespectful, you can also get fined for it. If you go to our more northern parts, you might find that people are a lot more reserved and quiet in the beginning, but once we trust you enough, we will open up to you. Oh, and something that sucks over here, there aren't many public drinking fountains. Most public bathrooms are not for free, so always keep some change handy. Talking about change, it actually is used here. Full stop. South African here. Don't freak when you hear people call themselves colored, and don't call a colored person black, or God forbid, mixed race. Switzerland is expensive and you should know that. Don't make that surprised face when you have to pay $14.90 for that sweet chicken teriyaki footlong. SMH. It's Edinburgh, not Edinburgh. Also, it's sweet that you are coming to Scotland to connect with your ancestors and stuff. Well, I think it is. But a lot of Scots you'll speak to will be thinking here we go again if you talk about it to them, especially if you actually describe yourself as Scottish. And your clan tartan is not really, well, real. Tartans being associated with specific families and clans is a Victorian fabrication, since they loved romanticizing about that era. Don't buy into it that much. We do not wear horned helmets. We're not all chavs and we're not all posh either. How the metric system works. We don't sell beer in ounces FFS. We don't all have bad teeth. Don't touch monuments and pieces of art, even if they are frescoes, columns and statues. Don't write on them. We don't care if John loves Anne. You are not going to write it on something that it's way ancient than your country. Our pizza is way lighter than your. You can't order just half of it. And pepperoni here doesn't really exist. It's salami piquant, and if you order pepperoni, just 1p, you are gonna get red or yellow peppers. We understand you. Don't talk. Once again, don't touch monuments. It's just pronounced Leicester Square. If one more middle-aged American couple approach me for directions in London with that look of utter terror in their eyes as they view the malevolent and knowable syllables in their immediate future, I will cry. Lie sexes Esther. Silently points. The Union Jack is not the flag of England. Not to be obnoxious on the tube. Austria, especially Vienna, we are quiet and angry. It terrifies us if you are so loud all the time. Oh, and if you order a schnitzel, don't even think about asking for gravy on top of it. We are very sensitive about our food, and there's a chance the cook will come and punch you. Amsterdam equals Holland equals the Netherlands. Get out of Amsterdam. There are many places that are much nicer than that touristic hellhole. Don't call the country Holland. It's called the Netherlands. Germany is more than just Bratwurst and Lederhosen. That's just ducking Bavaria. German culture is so much more. Bali is not the only one that is worth to visit in Indonesia. No, we do not envy that you live in America. We don't live in pyramids and ride on camels to work. We have more accents than Oi Gavna. And how do you do, lady? Pleasure to make your acquaintance. This post would be so much more helpful if the commenters would start their comment with the name of their country. Canadians don't apologize all the time because we're afraid of you. We apologize all the time because we're polite. Also, not all of us say a boot because we're Canadian. Hey, the people on the East Coast only kind of sound like that. And only on the East Coast. Literally no one here talks like Cheech and Chong. You are not a part of some clan. Your family tartan is a tourist trap. Your crest means nothing except maybe to some very old rich people somewhere in the Highlands. It doesn't bother me as most American tourists I meet here are very friendly and good for a laugh, but it's pretty cringy. Especially when they claim to be Scottish just because their great X10 grandmother lived here. Like, it's nice that you know that part of your family history and all, but overall it's just amusing to watch. It's nothing personal. But Norwegians aren't as into hugging as you guys. Sometimes you come off a bit molesty to us. Clearly without meaning to in any way. We like you. We'll like you better if you vaguely shrug in our general direction, rather than go for actual physical contact. High fives are fine. Asking for bullfighting or flamenco dances in Barcelona is like expecting every citizen of Texas to wear Eskimo robes. Yes, same country. But we have no ducking clue about those things. Not everyone lives in Amsterdam. And not everyone smokes weed. It's mostly foreigners who come here and smoke marijuana. German Brit in Germany here. Assuming that it doesn't just have to be one thing. Based on personal experience with Americans here. 1. No. The Second World War is not the first and foremost thing on our minds. Yes. We're grateful for the sacrifice that American soldiers made in World War II. No, we are not grateful to you personally for being vaguely related to one of these soldiers, or just being American. Our gratitude is limited to those who participated in the Omaha beach raids. Anyone old enough to have done that is probably not fit enough to make the trip to Germany these days. 2. Not everyone here speaks English. And of those that do, not everyone speaks enough English to tell you what you want. Speaking slower might help. Shouting won't. You'll make a lot of friends simply by making an effort to speak German, even if your pronunciation is a bit laughable. 3. We do have freedom of speech for the most part. The only major prior restraint is against public advocacy of National Socialism. If you're going to do that, we don't want you here anyway. We also have a flag code, and it's largely the same as the American one. Freedom of speech doesn't mean that we tolerate assholes. Don't be one. 4. Bielefeld doesn't exist. Don't let anyone else convince you otherwise. If you believe that you happen to be in Bielefeld, you have been subjected to hallucinatory mind control. That it exists, isn't a city-state or a province of one of our neighbors, and isn't just a place to keep their money, but that applies to most foreigners, not just Americans. And no, we're not from Iowa or Wisconsin. The further you go south in Mexico, you need to be more aware that a quesadilla may not come with cheese, despite sounding like it should. Guessing this'll get buried, and may be less relevant nowadays due to the legalization in a lot of US states, but for anyone visiting the Netherlands, do not buy the pot cookies in random tourist shops in Amsterdam. They don't contain actual THC. Buy them in a weed shop, or coffee shop, as we call them, where you actually have to confirm you're over 18 by showing your ID. Germany is not a unitary state, but a federation of 16 states and a gazillion regions that have bred a deep sense of playful hate and disgust for each other over centuries. Even in Bavaria you have at least 3 major regions, Swabia, Franconia, and Bavaria, that basically hit on each other and speak differently, have different traditions, different history, etc. So no, Germany isn't Oktoberfest or grey leather Nazis but a very diverse country. I mean, it wasn't for no reason that Germany took centuries to unify even remotely. Have you ever looked at a map of Germany in the Middle Ages? Everyone and their dog had their own principality. We do define ourselves mostly by what we do professionally, not by where we come from. So do not expect to be asked where are you from, but what do you do? Germany. BTW. But I think this is valid for several European countries as well. Don't ask why we use the Russian alphabet in Bulgaria. We don't. If anything, the Russians use the Bulgarian alphabet. Cyrillic was invented in medieval Bulgaria centuries before Russia was even on the map. That our country is called Belgium and not Brussels, the capital of Belgium, and the fact that we love our beer. I'm from Kazakhstan. Eating horse is part of our culture, the same way you do not offend people in France when they eat frogs. The same way please don't offend Kazakhs when they eat meat. We led a nomadic lifestyle, and since in the steppes you could not farm, cattle was the main source of food. During the Great Purge in Kazakhstan, cattle was taken away from us. In Russians' attempt to progress our agriculture, it didn't work and many tried to migrate, but failed due to dehydration and starvation. Over 1 million Kazakhs died during that period. That's 40% of the population. It made us a minority group in our own country up until 1990s. You do not have to eat it, nor is anyone forcing you to. But making rude remarks on it is uncalled for, especially since now the majority of youth understand Russian, Kazakh and English. Cookies and biscuits are pretty much the same thing. That is sweet and are mandatory for tea dunking. And no, I will not say Harry Potter again. You can win almost any person's heart by speaking a few words of the local language. It doesn't have to be much. Just some basic stuff that shows you made a little bit of effort acknowledging the country's culture. To answer for any fellow study abroad kids going to New Zealand, then calling you a cunt is endearing, not offensive. I'm tiny, so not one to pick a fight with a giant Maori guy calling me a good cunt. But some of my arsehole college cohorts apparently took offense to it and didn't understand the context at all. NZ is the coolest place in the world, to the point where you have to fight to get citizenship there. If a Kiwi is saying "G'day ya cunt," you're in good standing. I remember having old ladies at gas stations calling me a cheeky cunt. It's a totally different word out in the middle of nowhere. I'm from Taiwan and I once met a student from the University of Miami. He's come here as an exchange student for 1 year and I took him sightseeing around Taipei. Our first stop was Taipei 101. one of the tallest buildings in the world, and when we passed by a supermarket, he saw some electric toothbrushes and he said to me, "I didn't know you'd brush your teeth here. I almost forgot." He also gave another Taiwanese student an English name since he didn't have one. Reminded me of Robinson Crusoe and Friday. If you're outside of your home country, you are the one with the accent. Romania is not Dracula. Dracula is an invented story. As an American, I find visiting different countries goes smoother when you know how to say just a few words in the local language to be polite and respectful. Hello, good morning, please, thank you, etc. It takes so little effort and is always appreciated. If you are in Norway, don't sit next to us on the bus. If there are other seats available, take them. We are weird like that. Don't judge. Fanny does not mean but. Visiting slums is the most disrespectful thing you can. I'm not saying that don't visit slums. You wanna know how the other half lives, go roam around the slums with the guide, but for the love of God stop clicking pictures. They're humans, they're not for your entertainment. That you come here, you pay, and then you click pictures of them like they're some in a museum or in a circus. It's disrespectful, and this horrible thing has now turned into a successful business. It's in India. Mumbai, it's termed as Asia's largest slum. Paris isn't France. France isn't Paris. Don't think you know France if you only went to Paris. Most of the country is really different. Ireland. We don't care about your grandfather's story of just flying over from Ireland to America and the most mundane and boring story ever. If it's interesting, tell it. But I don't care that your relatives are Irish. Like half of your people have that trait. We don't want to hear your loud conversations in public. Match the volume of your voice to the people around you. In a busy restaurant or cafe, when everyone else is talking normally, and someone yells, "Really? Oh my god, I had no idea. Ha 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 ha." It always seems to be an American accent. Anything out with London is not the North and shouldn't be compared to the areas beyond the wall from Game of Thrones. If you are visiting East Europe and you are black, don't mind the weird looks. People are not racist. They are surprised because some of them haven't ever seen a non-white person. That my country is not Russia, even though it's ex-USSR and lots of people speak and understand Russian. No, we do not ride lions to school or keep elephants as pets. We don't tip here. You are making it worse for all of us. The servers get paid according to their skill level, many above the minimum wage. But they are starting to get pissy when locals don't tip them for their mediocre service. We don't celebrate the 4th of July because we lost Dart, so please stop asking where the party will be. Also, don't get mad at me because we don't celebrate your holiday. Don't make a joke about us being hungry. Don't you dare stand on the left of the escalator, except in shopping centers or leisure venues when it's suddenly totally fine.